Hey everybody, I'm Evan and welcome to another episode of the ProfNoctis Show. This week we have Daniel, aka FinalFanTV, aka the Warrior of Hype. And speaking of hype, Wade, what's coming up on this episode?
There is so much to be hyped about because Daniel brings the hype in a way that I don't know if we've had on this show. Everything, including the minigame stretch break intro, is just on fire. So
Wild.
really look forward to all of this. For the first bit of the episode, we're going to hear about Final Fan TV's origin story, and then we are going to get into some of the most mind-bending theories about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that you can imagine. So here we are, once again, in this episode of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth lecture series. Let's mosey. Hey everybody, we are excited today because we have a very special guest. Not only am I joined by Evan as usual, but we are also joined by the one, the only, the warrior of hype, Final Fan TV. What's up, Daniel?
Yeah!
Oh man, whoa!
Go!
The fanfare.
The fanfare. We are so excited to have you, man.
Yo, I heard
so
a little.
excited.
I heard a little falsetto. Not a falsetto. What is that?
Vibrato.
Vibrato.
Little
Choir boy
I heard-
years and years ago. So,
Oh.
gotta pull it out every now and
Sounded
then.
good, man. So yeah, what's up, guys? I really appreciate the invite to be here. I've been following the show. And honestly, I've been following ProfNoctis for a long
Yes.
time. Probably since you began.
Yeah.
It's I have a story to share for you.
Okay.
You want me to jump right into that?
Please
Story time.
do.
Story time. So Prof, man, when you first started, I think you were just streaming on Twitch.
Oh, well.
And you had your thing going on. Somebody messaged me. We were messaging back and forth on Discord and wanted some advice on what to do. Asking the wrong, like I'm qualified to give advice on streaming, but asking for some advice on streaming and like what can I do to be successful? You know, how can I make this success? What's happening? Why isn't it successful? And I said, well, first of all, you got to find what you're passionate about. What are you most passionate about? What is that? Obviously, it's video games. It's Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy is what you're most passionate about. I said, great, you've established that. But what are you like? What is that uniquely you thing? Like, what is that thing that sets you apart from everybody else?
Uh-huh.
And I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go check out ProfNoctis. And dude, you didn't have any like that many followers. And I
had
was like,
nobody.
I was like, why don't you go check out ProfNoctis? And I was like, because what he's doing is very unique. It is uniquely him. Not very many people, or if any people, are doing lectures. Like, so let's take a moment. Let's talk about what we're experiencing right now and things like that. And I just loved it. I was like, dude. And not only that, but it is a gosh, what do we do? I don't want to say PG, but it is a like it's a easy listening. Like you don't have to worry about like vulgar language and stuff like that happening. And it's just a fun time. And I think it is it's educational, it's exciting and things like that. Dude, freaking awesome. Good for you. So I'm happy to see this series when you had all of these insane insane lineup of content creators on your show. I was so happy. For some reason you got me. You also asked me to be on this show.
Dude, like, well, I've been trying to find a time to get you over to something that I was doing, but I was never doing anything that was like, I would say worthwhile. It's like, you can come on a stream, but that's kind of a weird sort of vibe. Like I'm playing a game and like you're talking to me or whatever. Because like I want to talk to you, right? And so and I've been over on your show so many times, like doing Family Feud and just like all these fun trivia things. I just have the best time. I think I've got the best losing streak of anybody on your game.
He loves that. I can tell you that. He's
I did.
thrilled about that.
Oh,
I
that's
hang up with you and I call Evan and I'm like, next time. And then I like curse the name of Baby Seal or something, and like we just go into it. But like I was like, I've got to get him over here and bring some of that hype over here, and you are already bringing hype because you're hyping me up, and I'm like, no, I want to hype you up tonight. So well, thank you so much. And I've got a story right back at you, actually.
Yes.
So I go to LA for the Final Fantasy 16 launch party.
Man.
Okay. And like here's the thing. Like you I just met you, like I'd seen you on on YouTube and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Final Fantasy TV. I'm kind of freaking out right now. And you were just so down to earth, and you were talking to me, and you were like, dude, you're a professor, like you teach these things, and like this is such a cool sort of thing. And I, honest to God, like I streamed to like 0 to 3 people at that point. Okay. Like it was crazy. I had not done anything on YouTube, and you were like, dude, like you got to get into this. Like you got to go over here, go talk to this guy. Maybe when you get you into the demo and stuff. I was like, what in the world is happening? So like you saw something in whatever we're doing far before even I did. And like, so any of this, like you helped contribute to that origin story. So thank you for that. Like I don't mind saying that to everybody. Like we are, because you have been. So thank you so much.
That really means a lot. I really appreciate that. And honestly, one of my favorite interactions, I've told you that before. It was one of my favorite interactions in the entire like LA trip. Just sitting there chatting with you about that. I was like, wait a second, what? Tell me all about this like Final Fantasy 15 university professor? Come on, man. So I thought that was awesome. I was really like trying to encourage you to do this stuff. And that is actually the origin of me like watching your content before you had people, because you started. I'm like, oh, there's the guy. That's the guy. That's him from the thing. That's from the thing.
It's so fun, so fun. Well, anyway, just like for anybody watching this, and you're like, hey, it's Final Fan TV. Like, is the Warrior of Hype like really like that in the real world? And I can say like you are rock solid, like integrity through and through. So what you see is what you get, and I love that about you, man. So,
I have to know.
Yeah,
the Warrior of Hype. Have you always been such a hype champion, or is it something that at some point you decided in life, you know what, I'm going to bring the juice. We're going to get this thing going. What happened there?
Man, I've always been like this. This is where my energy level is always there, especially when I'm surrounded by people who have that like-mindedness. It just amplifies it. But I've like throughout school, high school, anybody would tell you like that my energy level was always freaking max level all the time. I love bringing the excitement. I love being hype about things, and to be able, that's literally the reason kind of why I started Final Fan TV was I just wanted to be around people who had that same love and passion for video games, because I love video games and like the broad spectrum of video games. But then I was like, I want to narrow it down to my favorite franchise, my favorite games, and that's Final Fantasy. And bringing no game brings the hype for me like a new Final Fantasy, like a new man. When Final Fantasy 15 was about to come out, you don't do it, man. I was so hyped for that game, and I love it, man. And I think hype and disappointment will go hand in hand. But I'd rather, what is that saying about love, where it's like I'd rather have loved than to have I'd rather have hyped than never at all. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that's what I would characterize your entire channel as. Like when I go either onto your show as a guest, or if I tune in on YouTube, I know that I'm in for excitement and a celebration of the things that I love. And that's one of the coolest things. We don't have enough of that in the online space. Like, let's celebrate the things that we love. And we've got critiques, and everybody's like an armchair reviewer and critic. But like, I love that we can unashamedly, unabashedly love the things that we love when we're with you. So love that.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
You mentioned other video games. You said, so obviously we can assume that you like Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Sorry.
So we love that. Did you always play games growing up? Tell us a little bit about what that time in your life was like, did you have consoles? What did it look like? Did you have any games that you liked?
Man, this is crazy for me. Like like usually I'm in like I'm the host, right? And I'm like, I don't get to talk about this stuff. So this is great. I don't know if it's great content for you, but I mean, hey, I'm gonna talk about myself for a bit. But yeah, yeah, man, I've always been a gamer. I've always played video games. One of my, favorite home movies. My mom used to do home movies all the time. So I have a lot of home movies. When I was like 2, I think it was, playing Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
And then, I mean, I remember Super Mario World as my very first, like, that was the first obsession. Yeah, I've always loved video games. I try to have all the consoles if I can, but the Super Nintendo is where I started.
How did you did you have friends who played video games? Was it something that you also did to socialize, or was it something you kind of mainly did by yourself? Tell me a little bit about what the young warrior of hype, maybe the squire of hype at the time or something.
Squire of hype.
The squire of hype. That's a new T-shirt I gotta make.
Yeah,
I love it.
Tell me a little bit about.
I'm gonna make a little T-shirt, a little shirt for my son. The squire of hype.
You have to, because you said you're a graphic designer, right? Like that's what you studied in school. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Honestly, that's a whole merch brand for like baby clothes, like little squire.
Squire.
You can sell that on your shop. That's so good.
Dude, that's amazing. Yeah. So like, I don't really. I know my family, my brothers. We grew up playing video games all the time. So I mean, that was just we just love gaming. My all of my brothers played it, and I guess I just kind of grew up playing video games as well. But then when I went to school, I do remember some interesting, like on the bus ride home, I had a neighbor. He played Final Fantasy VII as well. And I remember the swinging, everybody does. The swinging thing that you had to jump on in Midgar.
On your
everybody
way
remembers
top.
that, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you're 7 years old, this is a very, very difficult thing, right? So he needed some help with it. I remember going over to his house after we got off the bus. I went over to his house and we tried. I don't know. It's like burned into my memory of just sitting there trying to catch that freaking swinging thing. But that was a lot different. I
remember that at 37.
Yeah, right? I was gonna say my recent playthrough. I remember my recent playthrough.
I just talked about that with my therapist.
Yeah.
With Bioroxis, actually.
Bioroxis, you had to have a little chat with them. Exactly, right? So, I mean, and that's just not even limited to Final Fantasy. But like, there's just so many stories I could tell you about that. But yeah, I've always been a gamer, man. And I do have like the point of, I don't know, the point where it all clicked for me, like the point where I knew that gaming was not, it was a lifestyle, right? It wasn't more of a hobby, but it was more of like, this is a lifestyle. And once again, I got to shout it out. ProfNoctis, this is the reason why I love your content, man. Like, this is the reason why I love that you're giving these lectures, that you're giving these, hey, let's take a step back. What are we learning from this game? Right? Because I've always thought that, like, right, I've always thought that gaming, yeah, it can be a hobby. It can be something that you're doing for fun, but I guarantee you that it is changing you. It is affecting you in some way that maybe you're just not knowing. But I've always thought that gaming is such a great teacher. But anyways, the point of impact for me was Final Fantasy VII. Coincidentally, I was 7 years old, and that was it became like the roots of my imagination, right?
Oh, cool.
Everything that I like, every story I created as a kid, everything was kind of like it was freaking turn. I was waiting my turn outside playing, and my mom has a video of that where I'm just like going up and attacking with a stick, going back to my spot.
That's incredible.
I was like, I didn't know you were taping that though. But
that's your job. That's your job.
You yelled limit break. I have no idea what it meant, but you attacked that tree.
It was great, man. So like my older brother Sean introduced me to that. So I tell this story quite a bit, but he was downstairs playing Final Fantasy VII, and I wasn't allowed to watch it, right? I was, it was a rated teen.
Sure.
Can't do that. I was 7. But I would sneak downstairs and like kind of watch behind the couch, see what's on. And eventually Sean caught me doing that. So I was able to watch a little bit. Sean actually convinced mom it was okay, and all that stuff.
Way to go, Sean.
Yeah, way to go, Sean, right?
Way to go, Sean.
And so he introduced me to Final Fantasy VII, and I was able, of course, when I snuck downstairs, the scene that I saw was Genova, like when he peeks in there and you see the man, that freaked me out a little bit,
Yeah, it did.
I was a kid, but I was like, I need to watch, and there was blood all over the floor. I was like, is this okay for me to watch?
Not anymore. Got purple ooze now.
Yeah, right.
For good or bad.
So yeah, man, that's that was like the origin moment. From, like I said, from there on, it was always like Final Fantasy VII, like the stories I created like this whole entire like the storyline in my head, right? It was all like, warriors and stuff like that, Final Fantasy related. Yeah, so it was man, this is it.
We talk about these stories that really stay with us. And I'm a mythology, religious lore guy, like in almost all of my content, literature and all that stuff. And the stories that matter the most and the stories that are worth telling always have some kind of message for us. And so when it comes to Final Fantasy and video games in general, what was the first time that you heard a story in a video game that you were like, okay, this is a message that's going to stick with me? Was it Final Fantasy VII, or was there another?
Dude, that's an awesome question, because with Final Fantasy VII, playing it that young, I obviously, like I said, my imagination spawned from that, but I didn't really understand. Like, I didn't really understand what the heck was going on in that story. I played it multiple times. I loved the gameplay loop and all the other stuff. But if there was anything before, because I want to stick with 7, because it was 7. But like anything before that would probably just be, Jack 2, like freaking Jack and Daxter. Freaking love that. Like, oh man, what? We got the whole, like, no spoilers for that game series, but it had a little twist at the end. I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
But I love those kind of stories, but that's where it was. Gaming had great stories. But then, man, 7 took on just a whole new importance for me. Because I talked to you guys about Sean, and I always bring this up again, because this is going to be like, this is a really special one now, because now I've met Katase and Hamaguchi-sen and Endo. I got to tell them this story directly.
Can you just explain for those who may not know who those
individuals
are?
Sorry. Yeah, so Yoshinori Katase, he is the producer of Final Fantasy, but he was the original director of the original game, which that's why it's so important that I got to tell this story to him. But then, of course, Naoki Hamaguchi, he is the director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And then Teruki Endo, hopefully I'm saying that right, is the battle director for Final Fantasy VII Remake series. So there they were, right? And I'm gonna start
recently at Otakon.
Yes.
Is that
so
it?
I'm gonna start with that, right? Because I got to tell them this story, and it it meant so much. So I was there. I had no really like intentions on being able to meet these guys or anything. I reached out to Square Enix representative, and I was just like, hey, I'm gonna be at Otakon, and like, this is, is there any opportunities? And thankfully, man, shout out to them. They were able to say, like, yeah, hey, here's a number. I want you to contact them, and let's see what happens. And I did. And this person was, she was like, hey, do you want to come back and meet the devs? And I was like, wow. I was like, I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, yes.
Freaked out, man.
But I had 2 final fans with me. That's what I call them, final fans. I had they were fans of me, which is weird, but they met me there. And I was like, well, and I always want to look out for, if I can make somebody else's experience, like if I can help them have an experience and not be selfish about it and like, oh, it's just me. I was like, I'm just gonna ask. And I was like, is it okay if they come with me? And she was like, absolutely. And they were just like,
Stop. Oh
they were
my
like,
gosh.
oh no. And I was like, it's happening, man. This is happening. I was like, this is gonna happen.
That's amazing.
We were waiting outside. The door opens up, and I direct eye contact with Katase-san, and I was like, there he is. And the door was open. I was like, I guess I gotta walk in. I guess I gotta go in there now. So I walk in there, and like, God, man, I don't even know. Like, I know that when I was talking, words were coming out in a weird way. Like, I just knew that I wasn't making any sense. Thankfully, they probably didn't really understand me anyway. I had to have it translated. So maybe the translator, the translator made me sound better, you know? Maybe the translator made that sound better. I'm tripping over my own words here. But like, I was able to, obviously, I just, introduced myself and all that other stuff. But then it just out of nowhere, I was like, it just hit me in the mind. I was like, I started talking about it. I just started telling the story. Like, it was just a spur of the moment. I just got to get the story out. So I just, I just threw it on him. And I was like, listen, my brother Sean, I told you about guys about this, where he introduced me to Final Fantasy VII. I told him about sneaking down the stairs and watching him play, couldn't play it, blah 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 blah. And they thought that was funny, and they were, they were laughing at that. And then I was like, well, Sean had cancer and he passed away when I was 16. So Final Fantasy VII, when I play that game, I feel so connected to him. Like, I feel like very connected to Sean playing that game. And man, I think it just took on this whole, it transcended just being a video game, because I played Final Fantasy VII like nonstop after he passed away.
Yeah.
And then there it was, the story of Final Fantasy VII. Like, and I'm like, there it was since I was 7, like, since like he introduced it to me. But there's that story. And it's for me, it's like, it's about grief, tragedy, and overcoming that. And that's where I like just kind of took from that game. Like, I took that story and I told him, I was like, Final Fantasy VII makes me feel more connected to Sean, so I can't thank you enough for this game. And just being able to kind of tell them that story was, I don't know, man. It was just a crazy feeling afterwards. I was like, full circle type thing. Like, I got to talk directly to the guys, So
when, especially to have this story of reckoning with life and death and loss and grief, and then to experience this in a game and to use the game in a lot of ways to think and process more deeply. I mean, I can imagine that from a creator, there is no greater compliment of like, yes, that is absolutely why we tell these stories. And so that's powerful, meaningful. I love that. I love that.
Thank you. But that is, I mean, that's a story that I want to keep sharing, even though sometimes it can be really hard for me to get that story out.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I just want to say like how important it is. And then I thought about being on the ProfNoctis show. I was like, if there's anything, like any game that has resonated with me on this kind of level, because ProfNoctis show, baby, when you think about ProfNoctis, you got to go, how's this impacting your day to day? Like, what's your, and this is it. Like, that, this is how it is. And I got like so many examples in this game of grief and everything like that. But go ahead, Evan.
No, I was just gonna ask if it would be okay and you were comfortable with just me asking a few more questions about kind of your experience and kind of where we want to go. And I can ask a different question if you'd rather, but just kind of curious about your experience with the game and what maybe about the game really helped you kind of process and things like that, if that would be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to share it. So yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe just, we'll start from the video game and kind of work our way out. What was it about the playing of the video game And like I don't know the timeline and everything behind everything, but what was that like? Was it something that you played together and then you thought about it? Just tell me a little bit about what that, besides being terrified peeking around the corner as as a little kid.
Yeah.
What is it about the game, and when would you play it and those kinds of things?
Oh yeah. So the first time I didn't even play it. I watched I watched Sean play it. So I wasn't able to play the game, but I was able to watch him play it. So the first time around was sharing that experience with him, playing the game, and I of course missed a bunch here and there because he would play it and then I catch it here and there. But just those moments were really special because what I was witnessing on the screen was like something that was really clicking with me. Like I was like, oh man, I love what I'm seeing. I love the characters. I love I just love all this stuff. And I think since it did become kind of such a drive for me, like to be creative, and that's my outlet. That's what I do. I love being creative. So it became part of me. So that moment watching him play it became part of me. And then we would obviously, it was his favorite game too. So like listening to him talk about it and things like that and just sharing that experience. And then him finally convincing Mom to let me play it, and then I get to play it. You know what I mean? Like, so it was him that was able to get me to play this game at, at 7, I think it was, by the time I was able to play it. But
yeah,
I mean, it was, like I said, yeah.
What kind of things did you guys talk about? Like, did he point things out to you that were sticking out? Did you have questions? Like, what was the nature of your relationship? And I'm curious about those conversations. Do you remember a little bit, or?
Yeah, that's I don't know whether or not I would be able to remember like that, but I do, like, you something that you remember the experience.
Yeah.
And it's like but you don't really, like, I remember the highlights, like, oh yeah, seeing the bloody floor, all this other stuff, and like it's, I don't have any specifics for you on that one, but yeah.
What was the impression that you think back on it now and you get from it? What does it mean? Like, what did it mean to you? What are some of those takeaways that you had?
What's it mean to me now that I got to watch Sean play that?
Yeah, when you think about being 7 or 8, and he's playing it, you think back and you don't remember details, but you kind of remember the way that you felt.
Yeah.
How did it make you feel when you were able to do that together?
Oh, yeah. Like it was my love for video games was not born because I always loved video games, but it was like a life-changing experience. If I know that sounds super cliche, but like, and cheesy, but like it was a life-changing experience, because if it wasn't for that experience, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I'm a gamer. Like I love video games because of that.
Yeah.
And it's now video games are such a huge part of my life. So looking back on that, it's like, oh, that was the point of origin right there. Like that was the moment for me. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really cool the way that you use that to continue to bring people together. And this idea that you've been using video games and specifically Final Fantasy to bring people together since you were 7, and now it's built into something that it's not just one person on the bus, right? You're inviting other people into that like sense of like safety and comfort and companionship that you had with Sean, and that's the way that you choose to spend your time serving others is really awesome.
Isn't that the most Final Fantasy thing?
It really is. Yeah, it really
is. This series has such an impact in that same way for so many that have played it. We have these formative memories of family members, brothers, sisters, parents, and I mean, I've shared my story a little bit with you, but it's so similar in a lot of ways. My dad, me playing Final Fantasy IV/2 for the Super Nintendo with him, and I remember vividly sitting in his lap, and he's pronouncing mythological creatures, Leviathan. He didn't know, like he did not go the full 4 years in college and stuff, but to the best of his knowledge, he was sharing what is a Leviathan, what is a behemoth, and I would call it Levitan and all this kind of stuff instead of a Leviathan. You'd be like, no.
Bomahute, that was my thing.
What was it? Behemoth. So I put the Bay in Behemoth. So that's what it was for me, and I remember these stories, my father's still alive, but we hit a really rough patch in my middle school and high school years. And one of the things that really sustained me during that time was I remembered these core memories of
Yeah.
him at his best,
Yeah.
instead of the reality of him at his worst. And it got us through those times. And I shared that story. This is your interview, but I share that story because there is a commonality, and for our listeners, our audience,
Yeah.
just this idea, your core memories with video games are not wasted. We have a lot of
Mm.
parents that listen and watch this show because they're trying to connect with gamers. We say this show is for gamers and people that love gamers. And so this is a great conversation point for us because it is an intersection with real life. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing that. It's such a great lens for us to think about gaming.
Thank you. Yeah, and like with you and your dad, it's actually made me think like, oh wow, like I might be creating these memories because I just recently, and this is so crazy, I just recently played Final Fantasy IV with my son, and he loved it.
Iconic
Like,
game
yeah.
for a
Oh
kid. Oh
man,
my
that was
gosh.
it gave me chills because like you talking about Final Fantasy IV. But yeah, so I had that experience with my son, and he was loving it, and he was talking about how he wanted me to restart the game, and I'm like, yeah, you want to watch more Final Fantasies? Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So I'd love to hear a little bit about moving from your love for games to content creation.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Because a lot of people love games and they just don't find an outlet like you have to share that. So what made you want to take the plunge? What happened?
Oh yeah, that's cool because I don't think I've told anybody like that, but either ways, yeah, it was like I started a channel before. It was a all gaming. I just wanted to do all gaming. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite content creators on the internet is Kind of Funny.
Yeah,
I love Kind of Funny, and
they're
that
amazing.
yeah. So I just kind of wanted to do that. I wanted to do Kind of Funny stuff, and I was like, if
Yeah.
I can do Kind of Funny stuff, maybe they can I get their attention.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was my idea. So I did that for a little while. Nothing, no
Mm.
views. Like it was just not doing it.
Mm.
I had like a really cool idea, man, that was just fantastic. It was way ahead of its time. It was combining WWE. I know you're a WWE guy.
Yeah.
Combining like
That's what I'm known
WWE
for.
with video games. I was like, it's freaking awesome, dude.
I
It
love
was
it.
amazing. We had gold controllers instead of belts. It's freaking fantastic. But it never went anywhere, man.
It could in this community,
I
though.
know, man.
But
And now that
it's
I
really
spoke it out there,
cool.
somebody's gonna take the idea. Just remember who get it. Um,
We cite our sources on this channel.
yeah, yeah. Come on, guys. But no, like it wasn't doing anything, and I was like,
Yeah.
ah, man. But like I said earlier, we're like, I just creativity. That's how I express myself. That's how I vent. That's how bringing the hype, and I just love doing that through art. Is
Mm.
one of my favorite things to do. Art. I'm not like super great at it, but I love to draw pictures and vent the hype out through art. So content creation was kind of like this step where I was just like, oh, sweet. Now I can just talk about the things that I talk about every day
Mm.
anyways, and get that out there, and maybe somebody else will connect with it. Maybe I can meet some people or whatever. But like I said, that channel didn't do anything. And then I was like, well, I took a step back, and I think this is kind of cool, a good story to tell for anybody who wants to be getting into content creation. And
Mm.
like I'm not successful, right? Like I mean, I have a really good thing going on right now, and I've had a lot of amazing opportunities meeting the developers and
Yeah.
things like that. So take this for what you will. It's not like I'm a super successful channel and I'm giving advice. But I think it worked for me, where I took a step back from that and I realized, okay, so why is this not working? And of course, I
Hmm.
have a background in graphic design and marketing and sales and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's the audience. I gotta narrow in the audience. Like where's the target audience? Video games is a very broad audience. Like that is a lot of different people. YouTube algorithm doesn't like that.
Yeah,
Like
fair.
that's a lot of stuff going on. So I was like, all right, well, if I focus in on one thing, and that was Final Fantasy, because I was just like, um, that's my favorite game series. It's my favorite
Hmm.
video games to talk about. I talk about them all the time. So let's just do that. So I started that up. I reached out to a few people, got people on board. We just started talking about it. And just snowballed from there. But like zeroing in on just Final Fantasy was great. Now in the long run, it might be something where it's like, hey, if this becomes super successful, you got to do the Night Sky Prince thing, man. You got to start branching out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Final Fantasy is what I'm most passionate about. So that's how that kind of started. If that made sense, did I answer that? And it was just like bringing everybody together was so important to me. Oh, and let me talk about that real quick. Because when I first started Final Fan TV, all right, one of the first things I wanted to do, I was like, I want to talk to the people who had a hand in making these games.
I was about to bring that up. I was like, you're missing a major part of this story. Like,
I have an issue with laying too much groundwork. But when me and my wife were dating and we were talking about Walking Dead, it would take me 1 hour to explain the episode. And my wife was just like, why didn't I just watch it?
We could have watched
it. No, so yeah, I wanted to talk to the people who had their hands in making the games, right? That's my dream. I like I like Kind of Funny. I love that being in the gaming industry and things like that, games media. And I was like, I want to talk to these people.
Yeah.
It wasn't about views, like, oh, this would get in a lot of views. It was just like, oh man, this would be such a cool opportunity. So I reached out to John Eric Bentley. And I just reached out to, mind you, I created the channel. There was no videos on it.
Right.
No subscribers. And I was like, hey, I was very professional, and I asked him if he wanted to be on the show. And he of course sent me back, hey Daniel, you want the leader Avalanche and stuff. He's like, maybe post a video or something.
That was a good Barrett. That was a good impression.
I give it Daniel. You get the. But anyways, he's like, you want great. Me? He said, maybe the leader of Avalanche or something like that has to come onto the show. And then he was like in a private message, hey man, maybe like post one video so I can see what it's all about. I was like, yeah, it's fair. That's really fair, actually. That was a good point. So shout out to John Bentley right there. I finally got to meet him at Otakon as well, and he signed that poster for me. Yeah, man. And that was really cool to meet John Bentley in person, because not only from that moment where he was the first guest I ever had on the show. Well, technically, I guess he was the second, but he was the first one that agreed to be on the show. Not only that, but like he's been back on the show a couple times, and we've been in contact through email, like every now and then. And then meeting him at the event was really, really cool. So there it was, right? Like to start Final Fan TV and then be able to have some sort of like small relationship with the voice actor of Bear Wells. Right? Come on, that is freaking awesome. That's better than any count of like subscribers and stuff. You know what I mean? Like success.
What's amazing is it didn't stop there. I mean, you like one of the things that's so inspiring to you, me about you is because you didn't have a video and you reached out to John Eric Bentley. And then beyond that, you just kept asking people like Sakaguchi, right? Could you talk to me about that for a second? How did that?
Could you tell everyone who that is?
Evan is here to keep us grounded. For the people that aren't gamers, they
love that, Evan. Thank you. I love that, Evan.
You're really excited about that.
And then tell us who that is. No, man, Hironobu Sakaguchi is the father of Final Fantasy. He is the person who created Final Fantasy. Obviously, him and his team, but it was his, vision. So, man, what a moment. So, like that was me reaching out on a just absolute. I always say this. I was reaching for the sky, and I couldn't see. I just grabbed something somehow. I'm just reaching up there, and I was able to grab hold somehow. These are things way out of my reach. And again, when I got Sakaguchi on the show, that was like if they would have looked at my channel, maybe they wouldn't have had him come on. but I try to word everything like super professional. I try to I try to be as professional as I can. I try to be to express my passion for this game and things like that. And I hope that's the reason why, is because it kind of resonated a little bit. Yeah, so that was just me reaching out to Mistwalker. That's the company that Sakaguchi-san started after he left Square Enix. And then, yeah. So I reached out to them and they wanted a written interview. And I said, I should have just taken that, right? Like, I should have, like, absolutely, yeah, duh, sure. And I went, we're a video format. And I was like, is it possible to get him onto the show, like in a video call? And he was like, oh, they were like, no, I'm sorry, but Sakaguchi-san's only doing written interviews at the time. And I was like, okay. I said, well, of course, I would love to have a written interview. I'll make it work. And then we were getting closer to the schedule date, and I just went, about that video interview, any chance that he'd be willing to do it? I'm like, I was a little more persistent, and I was like, this is my last time. I'm not gonna push this. And they said yes. God, man,
I love that. That's so good.
Insane.
I would love to hear a little bit more about your perspective on how to be politely persistent in life.
Yeah, for real.
Because that seems like something you've got quite the skill for.
I don't know if I got the skill, because like I have some like regrets too, right? So like it's that balance, and it's I think it was actually Professor Noctis that posted about this recently, where you were like, I feel weird reaching out to these people.
I did. I was in the throes of inviting you and like 18 other people, and I was like, every time, I am absolutely petrified. And I'm like, well, what's the worst that could happen? But still, it's just like, who am I? I'm a nobody. Why would they ever want to come on here? And then
right.
Yeah.
Well, like again, I think your passion and your passion for it, and also just professionalism, intelligence and stuff like that. I think that resonates even when you're sending a message, because you're not like, oh my God, be on my show type thing. You're proud. Yeah, dude, you gotta be on my show. But I think you're obviously, I don't know your messages, but when you sent me, very professional, like I think that's important. But yeah, no, I've reached out to a few people that were more of like oh crap, I hope I did not just like ruin that for the rest of like this entire thing. But yeah, no, it's been hit or miss, like reaching into the clouds, grabbing a hold of something. Sometimes I might mess up something, hopefully that not forever.
How do you know it? Because it sounds like it's more intuitive for you, and maybe some trial and error, right? But what is that feeling that you have that lets you know maybe it's just time to politely ask again, versus when you kind of can tell that you're coming against that? Because I think a lot of the reason that things don't happen in life is because we never ask, and you just don't know. And I think that you've had multiple examples of ways that you were politely persistent, that I think people are interested in hearing that, and how they can take advantage of some of that and really learn and grow, and maybe kind of springboard themselves into the life that they want. That's one of kind of the values of the show that we have. So what advice would you have?
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's really awesome. And it is something that I've kind of taken to heart doing this, where because you want it, you want the opportunity. And it's, I guess for me, when you're thinking unselfishly in a way, I guess, so you're not like trying to get them onto the show so that way you boost yourself, right? That's never been the thing, where I think when I reach out to them, that's the first baseline thing, is this: I want anybody to be on the show so that way I can share this hype. I want to share this love and excitement and stuff with somebody who's like-minded, and especially people who have had their hands into creating it. But as far as like knowing when to be a little more persistent, that's tough, because I don't know if I have the answer, to be honest with you, because like I said, I feel like maybe sometimes I've overreached, or I've overstepped my, like, oh, oops. But like I said, though, if you don't do it, you don't get it. Like that, nobody's going to. Maybe if you got 1 million subscribers, somebody might come up to you like, hey, can I be on the show? Like, can I sponsor you? But that's, in order to get that, you need to be the one to reach out, to make your own success. So yeah, like when it came to Sakaguchi-san, I was just like, I really, really want to speak with him in a video format. Like, and I said, I knew that it was respectful enough to come across like, hey, is there any way we can revisit that conversation?
Oh, cool.
And is it possible to do that? And then of course, whatever you want to say, like, what is that word I'm looking for? But basically reiterate that it's like, hey, once again, just want to let you know that I'm very open to doing the written interview and all this other stuff. But this would mean a lot to me and to my audience. And then also let them know, like, hey, there's something in it for you as well. Like, for me and my audience is primarily Final Fantasy based. They get to see you on the screen. They get to hear you in the way that they're accustomed to, because this is a video format and all that other stuff. So being able to do that was cool. But there's an example in person when I went to the LA event there. I messed up. It was my first time there, like first time at an event. It was my first time at a big event. And I thought to myself, well, it would be rude to ask these guys for pictures. I don't know why, but I was just like, it would be rude to go up to like Ben Starr and be like, hey, Ben, can I get a picture real quick? I just wanted to be in the moment with him. I think that's probably what he wanted too, maybe. Like, I guess that was in my mind. I was like, oh, he just wants to hang out. Let's just hang out. So I never got any pictures, and then I regretted that. And I was like, I didn't ask, and I didn't get. You know what I mean? Like, so when I went to Otakon, I took pictures. I was like, hey, would it be okay if I could a quick photo? Obviously, be respectful, because at a convention, you have to pay for pictures and the autographs. So you don't want to like catch them outside like, hey, I'm trying to get a cheap one, like, or you're trying to get a free one in here. So you got to be respectful about that. But I honestly didn't know how all that worked. But when I met, there's my picture right there, right there. And I was like, I was like, do you mind if I get a quick picture with you guys? And like, and I was just like, I had to get a picture. And then I was like, would you mind signing my boxes? and I don't care, man. I got it done, and they got it. There it is, and I'm gonna proudly display them forever. But yeah, like if you don't ask, you're not going to get. Like you're not going. If I would have been in that room with them and never asked, they would have never done that. Right? Like,
Well, no, I think you said something really, really meaningful there. It's not just adding value to yourself, but it's adding value to them. Like there is a reciprocal sort of thing here. Like, yeah, I'm a fan. Like I am geeking out over you, but also like, how can I add value to you? One thing that I say to my students all the time, and I think that you're a perfect example of this, right? Success is when you add value or ascribe value to yourself, but significance is when you ascribe value to someone else. And I'm really trying to think in terms of, at least this stage of my life, how am I trying to be significant rather than successful? And I think that as content creators, like you do this in spades. You have had no reason to ever have me on your show, right? But 3 to 0 viewers on Twitch and no YouTube channel, and you took a gamble, say, hey, he might be a good hang or whatever, and like it helped to launch me in a lot of ways. And so that was a significant thing that you did, and hopefully you got some success from it as well. But I've seen that in you time and time again, so I'm not surprised at all that that's been your kind of persistence mindset. I love that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to share the moment with, but I do, like I said, I believe in you, man. I believe in your success.
Well, thank you.
I know. I like to be like, hey, Luke, check this guy out.
Hey everyone, it's that time in the episode where we get to know each other a little bit better. It's our mini game stretch break. So we'll just take a minute. Guys, let's just stretch. I mean, oh wow. Yeah, maybe get some good stretches.
That feels good tonight.
We're doing some hype. Daniel's doing some hype stretches right there. Listener, wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, just take a minute, take a break, Give yourself a little break, get some stretching in, stand up, walk around a little bit, be good to
Yeah.
yourself, be good to your body. You're
Do
going to
that.
make it.
You're probably going to
make
need
it.
a stretch break for this episode, I imagine.
Probably are.
That's great. So I have the bingo wheel of vulnerability. Wade has our geek therapy cards. Are we doing different cards this time?
No, there's one thing that we got to do.
Oh, you know, I did go out of order.
You sure
3, 2, 1.
With the solo.
my bad. I was really feeling it, dude.
Good.
Amazing.
Oh, whatever that metal. Remember that the metal song in that? Oh, so good.
That was great. That was perfect.
Crazy
Maybe
chocobo.
Maybe the best gold saucer one we've ever done. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh,
that was the best unplanned acapella that we've ever done.
I felt it in my face when you guys were singing. Like
it melted my face a little bit.
You know,
like Tenacious D over here. Like,
face.
We're one of the only musical duos that gets significantly worse over time, guaranteed.
Yeah, truly.
And we only do one song.
We just can't nail it.
I love what you did with the Baby Seal episode, man. You really took it, made it your own there.
It really did.
Hey, listen, you know, you just
he had like a Taylor Swift song. If she listens carefully, she'll sue us.
If you can't be anything, be memorable. All right, here we go. All right, with the bingo wheel of vulnerability numbers 1 through 50, Wade will ask the card question. You guys know the drill. Daniel, what number would you like as our special guest?
I'm gonna go with 24, Bob.
This is gonna be 24. Let me see 24. Wade, what do you want?
6.
6, single digits. Okay, I'm gonna go 43. All right, Daniel. Listener, you can. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, come on, man. Whoa.
Here it is. Okay, last time it went flying across the room, and we had to do a search and rescue.
We sure did.
So we're just gonna.
We're learning every day.
Do this. Yeah. That number is 12. So, listener, if you guess 12, you got it right. Listener, if you guess 12, got it right. And if you ever get it right, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, seriously, we want to know because we don't think anyone ever wins. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Because the bingo wheel of vulnerability is the house, and the house always wins. All right.
So true.
Hit us with that 12th question there, Wade.
Okay. This question from our Geek Therapy card deck for clients and therapists, 87 practices to improve thoughts, build insight, take action in your life, and de-stress. This category comes from video games, which is very appropriate. Not always video games, but here's the question. Occasionally, players must catch monsters and use them in battles. This method of action can also be used to help, quote, catch difficult emotions and train yourself to recognize what emotions should be contained. Talk about what your emotions look like as a monster. Does it have any special power over you? Imagine you're in charge of this monster. What would you order it to do? So this is a multifaceted question. Whoa. So really, think of your emotions as a monster.
Oh, man.
How do you tame it, train it, and what special abilities might it use?
Well, we always like to allow our guests some time to think. So one of us will be happy to go first, unless you would like to go first, and then we will give you the floor.
Yep.
I choose you, ProfNoctis.
Okay. You know, today I feel like my emotions have been really, really high, like really, really electric, like a Pikachu, if you will. And so that's the image that I have in my mind. Don't come for me, Nintendo, just by invoking. But still, like it is this kind of like, I think that there's a level of excitement, of positivity that I'm currently experiencing right now in my life. Maybe it's the start of the semester before midterms and before all that stuff kind of comes to play, where I'm just generally optimistic and I'm just hyper grateful, and it feels freaking electric, man. So I feel like the first thing that I would do is just like spread that positivity, jolt people with it, in a good way.
Hey, man,
that's kind of where I am today.
Yeah.
So. Ev, you want to go next?
Sure, yeah. I think for me, there's a lot of great stuff with my emotions these days, but I'm also experiencing like more intensity
Uh-huh.
in either way. And so that's kind of new. It's a new season of life. Things are changing. And so I think recently I have just kind of felt like I've been digging through the rubble a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And like my special little monster that you capture, not naming any brand names, has kind of gotten like trapped in a landslide. And I've nurtured this thing and I'm looking for it. And so I'm experiencing these moments of great hope and then great frustration when I pick up another rock and it takes a lot of energy and work to do it. But then I move it. And when I don't see what I'm looking for underneath it, the intensity of the kind of sadness and disappointment, I feel my perseverance and my resilience being challenged.
Yeah.
But I think I'm also seeing some breakthrough, right? I can tell that I'm getting like a little closer. So for me, that monster is, I guess, kind of like an excavator.
Yeah,
just kind of trying to
work
its way through. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at these days.
Yeah,
oh man,
what's the PAL world equivalent of like Geodude?
Oh my gosh,
I'm sure there is one though. I'm sure there's like an identical one. This one has 6 fingers instead though. I changed it. We may change it. Oh,
what about you, Daniel?
Oh man, I should have been thinking.
Oh no, don't apologize for being an active listener.
I guess I was just captured by your stories. No, I like your rock type, I think that's really cool. And I'm trying to think of like another, like an animal, real life animal to combine an excavator with. That's where, see, this is where my thoughts went when, instead of thinking of my own answer. Sure. What's an animal? Give me an animal real quick.
Like a ditto, because you're cloning.
Yeah. Wait. I'm just cloning things. I'm thinking of an animal, like a turtle, like an excavator turtle, Anyways.
Oh yeah, or a burrowing owl.
Yeah. So what would that be called? You got to combine the two things. Well, think about that while I talk.
Disappointomon. That's what I'm experiencing.
Chat or comments. Comment below with a turtle excavator name. So that way you give me your best monster pocket thing name. Your monster pocket name.
Yeah. World of PAL.
World of Pals, man.
I really don't want to get sued.
We really don't.
So it's a great one. This is a good thing. So I guess I'm trying to think if I should have gotten like deep with this or not. But I guess for me, kind of come to a spot in hype, right? Where I'm kind of stuck, right? Because this is the first time since I started Final Fantasy VII that there's nothing to hype. Like there's nothing there. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was announced. Or no, remake was already out. It just came out. We were talking about that. We had Rebirth to get hype about. Final Fantasy 16 was announced in the same year. So we've been hyped about Final Fantasy 16, and now they're both out. Both were incredible games. And now I'm just kind of sitting here, a little stuck. So I guess my monster of pocket is a maybe a ghost type.
Ghost type.
Maybe it's a ghost type. Maybe it's kind of like shadowy. Maybe I can't really see it. Right? I can't really see what it is. I can't make it out. I can't I don't know what shape it is. But I'm excited to catch it, if you know what I mean, right? I'm still I'm back at this idea of like the Final Fantasy reviewed and ranked series that I got coming up. I'm like,
so exciting.
I'm throwing out these different things. I'm not throwing up, that would be sick. But
different type.
But yeah, it's a different type.
It's a throw up type.
Actually. Yeah, let's go with that. All right. So it's kind of a ghostly type figure, where I can't quite make out what it is, but I am still excited to catch it, just like that guy.
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
that guy, like he
it's
does
like,
that thing.
Mr. Ketchup. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr.
Charcoal Snag'em.
Charcoal Snag'em. That's his name.
So there you go.
We love Charcoal Snag'em. Well,
Charcoal Snag'em.
Listener, we are hoping that you find yourself well. And as you think about, the emotions that you've been experiencing, maybe how you would characterize them or anthropomorphize Pokemon-ize them,
Ooh.
whatever that would be.
Wow, I like the verb.
Hopefully,
Good.
hopefully it's an exercise in reflection, and you get a little extra stretch in here, everybody, as we kind of make our way back to that episode. See you soon. Well, I know that if we don't ask, you know, we can't expect to
nice
receive it. So I do wonder, maybe, Wade, if we should see what some of his theories and thoughts are on some of these games.
I think that we have established the credibility of this source enough.
I'd say so.
I would say so. I mean, Sakaguchi is basically the godfather to his children. So it's he's a legit source here.
Yeah. Let me throw in a little sprinkles. Not only Sakaguchi. Come on, let me pat myself on.
It's like,
let me brag a little bit.
Wait, and I'll sprinkle. Ready?
Okay, yeah. I don't know where I'm at on the video time.
You'll be in the middle.
I don't know what side is on.
I'm gonna take that in real quick. Let me brag a little bit. Not only Sakaguchi, not only John Eric Bentley, not only Vic Chow, freaking all the Austin Lee Matthews, all these voice actors that I got to talk to. Come on,
Vincent Fallow. I mean,
Vincent Fallow, the German voice of Clive. Oh, so good, man. All of these amazing voice talent. Sakaguchi, but I also got to shake the hand of Masayoshi Soken. Come on, man. Who is? I'm gonna get. Yeah, my bad. The Final Fantasy 14 and 16 music composer. Oh, come on. And then you know what I got? I got to talk to him directly, and I was like, I don't know. He doesn't understand what I'm saying. I'm like, everybody here, I was talking to him, and they're all really, really excited about the music. Like, that was their most important. Like, that's what they told me, that what they're most hyped about for Final Fantasy 16. He went. So I'm like, yes, you understood me. It was just so hype, man. It was so and then from there, I was playing on the on the live stream on the stage at the event, right? Guess who comes up behind me? Naoki I'm sorry. Naoki Yoshida.
Yoshi P himself.
Yoshi P come up behind me. He surprised me. So not only that, so I got to shake his hand as well. Naoki Yoshida is the producer of Final Fantasy 14.
See, you're learning.
In Final Fantasy 16.
Nice work.
Oh man, yeah, dude. So that was incredible stuff. Anyways, so I've met a lot of these developers, which is what I set out to do with FinalFanTV 4 years ago. So it's like you said, experience, or what did you say? What was the measure of success for you? Like
ascribing significance to others.
Yes,
success is ascribing value to yourself, and significance is ascribing value to others.
Nice. See, like there it is. So being those experiences is what I call that success, man. All right, so go ahead. We're going.
It's good. And so, like, to that point, I mean, from the moment I met you in, well, first of all, on YouTube, but in LA as well, I was like, this dude's living it. He's living the dream. I mean, what is this? Absolutely amazing. So I know that content creation has its highs and lows and all that kind of stuff, but you're doing it. And like, that's awesome. So, like, and also the vibe that you put off, I mean, kind of funny move over. I mean, you are the kind of funny Final Fantasy community, man.
Kind of funny. Please clear a spot for me. I'd like to be on. Don't move anywhere.
They wish they could be on your show to play some a Family Feud, right?
You guys want to be on my show? That'd be great.
That's what they want. So,
oh man.
Anyway, we got to get into Final Fantasy VII. Here, you know, this is part of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth lecture series, and you now have been established credentials as a guest lecturer. So we are in your classroom tonight. We're going to ask you some questions from your expertise and your vast knowledge of this stuff. Evan, Final Fantasy and the Warrior of Hype has created so many great videos, so much great content. The one that I remember fondly about Rebirth, however, is probably one, I don't know how well it did, but I was all over it. It was your menu screen discussion.
Oh,
okay. Listen, the way that you took some of these in this video chat, we're going to make a link in the YouTube comments. you take the simple menu screen and you parse out different designs from a graphic design standpoint. You're able to look at all of these things and ask questions of what does that mean? What does that symbol look like? And you deduce some things. So I just wanted to say, like, your deep diving, moving into theories is like so good. I absolutely love it. So with that in mind, I just want to kind of open it up and say, Rebirth. How do you make sense of this game? And then we can go wherever you want with that.
Ooh. I didn't even know if you were going to ask a question. I want to open it up. I just want to say,
I'm just going to open this up.
Rebirth.
Rebirth.
Go.
Right now.
It's like, all right, get ready.
Okay.
This is going to be a long one.
What you got there, hype man?
Oh, so you enjoyed Rebirth. I would say, you know, maybe I don't know how you feel about it now, but for 90% of it, you were like, this could be better than the original, right?
Man, so Prof, this is definitely an interesting one, because you say 90% because you know that about me. You know that about me. You were actually on the review that we did. So we talked about that, and at the time, and we can obviously talk spoilers.
Yeah, it's all spoilers for the entire lecture series.
Figured as much. But yeah, like at the time, it was man, yeah, it was a little disappointing at first. I'm gonna be honest. I gotta always be honest. Like I could be the hype man, but I'm always gonna be honest about things. Yeah. So when it came to that iconic moment, the moment that how much this stuff means to me now, where how it is transcended video games, that core of what I think Final Fantasy is, and how important that core of it is, does come down to the Aerith scene quite a bit. So when I was like, I knew this was going to happen. Like I knew with Remake, I was blindsided completely. Yeah. Like I didn't know. It took me a long time to recover from it. But then with Rebirth, I was all ready. I was like, I'm ready for anything you throw at me type thing.
Right.
I knew something was going to happen with it. So when I got to it and all of that stuff happened, I was just really like confused. I was just really like, oh man, what is going on? And a little bit disappointed because I didn't get to see the scene where Cloud lays her to rest in in the waters of the Forgotten Capital. And I think that's a lot of people feel that same thing of like, oh man, that's the iconic moment. Like this is the moment in Final Fantasy VII that a lot of people look back on. Sephiroth walking through fire and Aerith getting killed and laid into the water. Like you got to keep those things. So yeah, a little disappointed about that. And I will say,
as somebody that really processed grief in this moment, you take this really compelling scene that is transformative in your own kind of grief retelling and processing and all this kind of stuff, and you subvert it. It was more than just changing it, I would imagine. Like it's not that it's not the same as the original. Speak a little bit. What did that do to your memory of it, as well as your own processing? Because that's a special moment.
Yeah, that is, and that honestly is that's it right there. You know, that's the what is the word? You don't. I keep on saying everybody uses crux. But it's kind of the crux, right? For me, personally, where it's just kind of like, it's about loss. It's about Aerith's death being such a pivotal moment for the party. This is another loss on top of everything else they've been losing. And of course, my own personal, life with Sean and everything like that. So if you're going to give me like these moments of hopes or dreams of having Aerith return, it's like, that's just not the way this works. That's just not how this happens. And I get it. This is Final Fantasy. It is a fantasy. So like anything can happen in here. But I was like, Final Fantasy VII has always been more grounded, like in that sense. This is a story of life and death, like the cycle of life and death. That is the true backbone for me, for Final Fantasy VII. So seeing this pivotal moment, this very, very important moment, start to get altered, seeing the moments leading up to that, where it's like, oh, we're injecting some hope that there's multiple worlds. Here's Zack, he's still alive. Things can happen, don't give up hope that Aerith is going to be alive.
Yeah.
So the reason why I set this up for you is because that was my feelings when I was talking to you back in April or
Yeah.
February. When I was talking to you back in February when we reviewed the game, that was it. I was just really confused, and I had to figure this out. And now that I think I have a better understanding of what's going on, I'm like, oh, it's like, okay. I
So,
think I think part three is going to deliver on what I'm looking for in this game. And
okay.
I'll talk about that in a second. But go
So
ahead.
how do you feel? I guess how did you come to that place? Is it in the
Mm,
hope of part three really giving you that?
mm,
And if so, like, why would they tell the story this way, do you
mm.
think?
Is so here's the where I've come down to it. The reason, like that's a good question. Why? I've always
Hmm.
like when if I'm writing a script, I'm always asking why after the end of that. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, gotta explain why. So why would they show it like this? And I think it is what many people have been talking about, how like they want to put you in Cloud's shoes.
Hmm.
They want to make you feel what Cloud is feeling in this moment. And he's not going to accept this loss. He's not going to he's not mentally able to
Mm.
accept what's happening, or the reality of what's happening. And I do think the reality is Aerith is very dead.
Mm.
That she definitely died.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
question we ask everybody, so I'm glad that you mentioned it.
cool. Yeah, yeah. No, I think she is. I think she's dead in this one. And uh it's it's for me where part three, my hope of part three being able to deliver on this is the fact that, oh, there is that live stream sequence coming up.
Hmm.
There is, and this is going to be such a great like opportunity to really make this moment, because
Mm.
this is a very, very important moment for Cloud.
Yeah.
That so in the original game, I don't think we got that really until you go back to the Forgotten Capital, you go back to the water
Right.
altar, and then you see on the water reflection of what really happened.
Yeah.
And they could still do that. They could absolutely still do that.
Hmm.
But I do think we are going to see what really happened. Like we're going to see the moment in its entirety, and we're going to relive that moment in part three.
Do you think
Uh,
that'll be the moment that Cloud breaks or the moment that Cloud kind of reconciles? What do you think?
acceptance.
Acceptance.
I think this is the acceptance stage that Cloud just needs to
Okay.
get to. And once he can get himself to acceptance, and I think this is the live stream sequence for me. Like I just
Mm.
don't know, because I think the live stream sequence is definitely piecing back Cloud to his normal self, but there's that one thing now where he's like he feels responsible for Aerith.
Mm.
And if Aerith can come in there, I know this is Tifa's moment, and Tifa will have her moment to piece back Cloud together. But who else is in the live stream? Aerith. So
Right.
and Zach.
And
So
Zach, yeah.
I think it's an opportunity that both Zach and Aerith can help out Cloud in this live stream sequence, to help Cloud remember that he was good friends with Zach, to help Cloud
Mm.
remember who he was in Soldier, uh,
Oh.
for Tifa to remember who he was as a child, to remember his hopes and dreams as a child, and things like that.
Hmm.
And then Aerith to come in there and be like, here's what happened. And like, and this is, and then just show, and he'll have the memory flash back to him or something like that. But I think we will get to see Aerith's death. I think we'll get to hear Cloud, because I think the director had already said that those words are what he's saying, like where he's like, my eyes, like
From the
my eyes are
original game,
burning,
yeah.
my hands are shaking, and like he's feeling things,
Hmm.
but you don't hear that in Rebirth. Another one of those things where I'm like, what are you doing?
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, well, what are you doing right now? This is such a moment for me that I need this. And I
Yeah.
think what they're going to do for part three is do that. And they're going to show this. It's going to be God, it's going to be a heartbreaking scene to witness. This is the scene that we all been waiting for, I think. And then finally, he's going to be able to say all that, and then finally carry Aerith and let her go into the waters. And then, oh gosh, was it subtext or Joshy Poo said the hold L2 and R2, the haptic
To drop.
feedback, and then let that feeling let go. And I laughed at him, and I
Stop.
felt bad because I was like, held L2 R2 to accept the truth. And then I went, ah man, you know what though? those haptic feedback or haptic no, adaptive triggers. When you have the adaptive triggers and they're like really hard to push down, and then if they start to loosen up, and then you just let Aerith go in the water, I'm like, that's actually kind of good. I don't know if you want that gimmick, but like
it's like the very cusp of cheesy, and there's a way to do it pretty well and not.
I think the Call of Duty like press F to pay respects might have ruined it for.
No, I think it might have.
Like,
you're right.
Like the quick time event at a funeral.
Exactly. It's like, do you want that?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, you know what though? I'm like, I laughed at him, and then I was like it does connect the player to this, because also this is why I think it's I don't want to say genius yet, because I don't know if this is even going to happen, but you know what I mean? I'm just talking and making myself hype, right? I got to do that, because if I start thinking about like, oh, she can come back to life and everything's going to be fine, they'll have a happy ending, then I don't want to play it. You know, then
it subverts the message, right?
So,
and if this is a retelling of the original game, even with all the added things, or if it's a sequel that's retelling or reimagining, whatever it is, you know, I think it's got to stay close to those core themes.
Yes.
Otherwise, it ceases to be Final Fantasy VII, and the meaning that it has.
Yeah, and it's so I think that's going to be symbolic of letting go. And this is for the player as well, like the meta commentary that you want to put onto this, that they've been doing in this series, in the remake trilogy. That meta commentary of like, we're not only putting Cloud through it, but we're putting you through it. We're going to put you through this stuff. So this is going to be the moment where they want you as the player to let go of that hope that somebody can come back to life, that somebody you've lost can come back. But that's, as Aerith says, that's just not the way this is supposed to be. This is not, it's not right. And I think it's going to be strengthened, the core or the backbone of Final Fantasy VII, like the story for me. I think it's going to be strengthened through what they're doing. I'm hoping so, at least with this idea of giving the player some hope of like, oh, you know what? There are multiple worlds, and like there's Zack still alive, right? And like, and kind of like giving the player like a chance to feel what Cloud is feeling, to feel like he wants, you know, if he's given the opportunity to get Aerith back, he's going to take it. If he's given the opportunity to get Zack back, he'd probably take it. So this is kind of where a theory comes in, where I think Sephiroth's going to present this opportunity to Cloud. I think Sephiroth's going to say, I've created a world where Aerith, Zack, all of your friends can live forever, and nobody will ever feel loss again. And when so like in Advent Children, where Cloud goes, there's not a thing that I don't cherish. So to cherish something is to understand that one day you're not going to have that. Like if you think that you're going to have it forever,
I don't want to hear that.
I know.
Did you say that again?
Sorry, Evan.
Yeah, it gets me too, man. It's where to cherish something is to understand that it's temporary. Like if it's not temporary, then who are you? The Gi. And what do they cherish? The one thing that will set them free from the forever that Sephiroth wants and desires. So I think the Gi is such a juxtaposition of Sephiroth, right? Or not a juxtaposition, like here is what you want. This is what you want. You want the Gi. You want eternity, existence that lasts for an eternity, that never goes. That's what Sephiroth desires. That's what he wants. But the Gi are like, no, we want to be free of this. We're willing to just end it all so we can get out of here. So and they don't cherish a thing besides the black materia.
And to clarify for you, Evan, and for the audience, the Gi are essentially alien
Yes,
not
yeah.
from this planet, not from the life stream, and therefore, even in death, they are forbidden from returning to the life stream.
Yep.
And so there's almost like a haunting, almost
Mhm.
purgatory-esque nature to them. And so
Mhm.
it complicates the narrative or whatever. And
Yeah.
so the thing that they would cherish is release in a lot of ways. And so that's what we're kind of getting at here, just to clarify.
Great job.
Yep.
I know you didn't even have to prompt it that time. Like, I'm
That's
learning.
why I focus so much on the gi.
Yeah.
When I was doing that, this is the answer video, or no, I said this is the key.
Yeah.
It was the black materia.
Yeah.
But I focus so much into the gi, and I think that section of the game is pretty important, like a like
Mm.
foreshadowing of like, hey, this is what Sephiroth wants. And I think every character kind of has this. Like if you look at Barrett and Dine, like if you look at
Mm.
Dine is the path that Barrett would have taken. Like
Yeah.
he would have become what Dine became, and if he did not. And this is it, man. This is Final Fantasy VII for me,
Yeah.
where you're processing like a tragedy or a loss. What is the worst thing that you can do? Lonely, be lonely, alone.
Mhm.
And that's what Sephiroth is experiencing. So Sephiroth shows you when a tragedy occurs or something that you're grieving about, if you're alone, then there's Sephiroth. There's that idea. And then for Barrett, who put all of his grief into anger,
Mhm.
right? He wanted to just take it out on people, which I also think is really cool when Aerith is talking to the party after the trials, and she
Mhm.
says, I wrote it down. God, I'm gonna read this whole thing. You
Yeah,
mind
go
if I
for it.
do?
Yeah,
How's
please.
that? Hold
I
on.
wrote this
Please.
down.
And by the way, this is chapter 13 in the Temple of the
Mhm.
Ancients. All of the characters have just undergone some traumatic experience from their past. They've relived it and had to come face to face with this thing. This is what we refer to as the trials, and this speech comes immediately after.
This speech is everything.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
She's before the trials, she was reading the Cetran
Yeah.
text, and it said, "Forget not thine ire, for it shall remake thee."
Oh,
That was such a cool line as well.
yeah.
So they undergo the
Why is
trial.
that cool for you?
Because you need to remember what got you where you are,
Mm.
right? Whether it's good or bad.
Okay.
Because of those things is why you are where you are and who you are. I think that's, and then if you are dwelling into that, if you are stuck in the past, and she says this too, where she's like, look to the future, but every character is stuck in the past. They're all
Yeah.
grieving their tragedy. They're all thinking about their tragedies, their own personal tragedies, and they're not able to move forward past that.
Mhm.
Um, so if you forget about that and just like you're just trying to move forward, you're never going to move on. You're never going to move forward. So it will remake thee if you can just think about it and accept it to move forward, is where I got out of that.
Yeah.
But she says, if you really think about it, life and death are two sides of the same coin. Our bodies may disappear, but our bodies may disappear when we die, but our spirit still lives on. We return to the planet, rejoin the life stream, and in time give rise to new life. And Barrett kind of, in time, yeah, like he's still not there yet.
Mhm.
He's still thinking about it. And then Aerith says, I get it. I really do. Knowing that the people that we love aren't really gone, it doesn't make it any easier to let them go.
Yeah.
It still hurts. So we can't think of it as a homecoming, because that's just not that simple.
Yeah.
We've all experienced pain. We all have our regrets. That moment, or that line right there. What we've done, what's been done to us, that is set in stone. The past is forever. And she says, it is, and then, oh, and this is the moment I was getting to. She looks directly at Barrett and Tifa. It is true that pain and anger that we carry can make us stronger. And she looks directly at Tifa and Barrett, because what did they do with their grief? They turned to anger to take it out.
Mm.
Now Tifa, of course, conflicted. She knew that wasn't what that's not her. But Barrett, he went into it, and he would have become Dyne if he would have kept into it. It can make us stronger. And what is Sephiroth doing? Oh, he loves that. He loves that despair. It makes him stronger. Then she says, true strength doesn't come from any of that. And she looks directly at Yuffie and Red, and she says, true strength doesn't come from any of that. Of course, Yuffie is looking for power. She's looking for a way to find strength to be able to take it back, to get revenge, basically, and to get her home back. Red 13, who desires to protect the veil just like his father, but before that he thought his father was a coward, so he wanted to step up, right? But now he wants to be like his dad, all this other stuff. Anyways, but I like how she looked right at Red and Yuffie for that moment. And then she says, true strength comes from our ability to forgive, to forge ahead in the hope of making things right. Do that, and not even Sephiroth will stand in our way. And I'm like, that freaking moment, that was it, man. That was the moment for me that I like, that was what I was looking for in this entire game. Like, so everything that came after that, as confused as I was like, oh, there it is. There's the moment. And it was also a lot of great moments too. But the reason why I bring up, God, I'm going on too long. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? Like, I'm just like taking all of these notes in. It's like, just keep going. So continue your train of thought. Like, I'm invested. Go.
I'm at church here.
It's what it feels like, right? Like, oh.
And she says true strength doesn't come from any of that.
Oh, you went to one of the fun churches.
One of the fun churches.
Praise her. Praise her. Woo! All right, so here's where I got with the whole power thing, right?
Yeah, please.
When I talk about how Sephiroth desires this, right? He desires, like, that's his power. Like, he loves power. And where does he draw that power from? Pain, anger, despair, everything that the party's feeling right now, right? Loves it. Because and this is something interesting that I found. I mean, it's actually my wife told me about it when I was telling her about, if you can imagine me talking to you guys right now, and this is going on for a long, long time. When I talk to my wife about my theories and stuff, they go on for so long, but then she does throw in some little nuggets for me. Okay. And I'm like, that's really good.
We said it. We cite our sources. So
we cite our sources.
Thank you for that.
Props. The shout out to my wife on this one. She says, she said, well, what is that saying about how, like, it takes it takes God, what is it? 5 negative actions. It takes one. God, no. Hold on. It takes 5 positive actions to erase one negative. You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I was like, that's because negativity is so powerful. Like that. And it was, so this is my theory, right? Like, this is a way out there theory. I'm going off the rails now.
Let's go.
We are in fact getting off this train. We are.
Let's do it.
We derailing now. All right. So like my theory about that is that Sephiroth is actually good for the planet. The planet loves it. Okay. Do you know why? Because when Sephiroth's going through the thing and he goes, "Can you hear it, Cloud? Her rapture." Do you know what rapture means?
That's a good impression.
Extreme pleasure. Like extreme
pleasure, right?
Oh, the planet is loving it, and Cloud's like, "It's screaming," but Cloud, Sephiroth's like, "Come on, Cloud. I thought you'd understand, man. I thought you'd know by now." But like, every time one of those worlds merge, and when the worlds are merging, all of those worlds are filled with anger, despair, because their worlds are ending. Everybody in that world is just, or if it's just one singular person. That's keep that in mind as well, because I haven't fully formulated the theory. But if these worlds are one singular conscience going through it or whatever, it is one singular person, but feeling so much despair, and it's coming back into the planet because the planet encompasses all of it, right? So when it returns to the planet and it's homecoming, coming back to the planet, back to the source, the life stream, it's coming back. What is it coming back as? Dark, black and purple. it's coming back as it's the life stream black that we read about in On the Way to the Smile, right?
Yeah.
So life stream black is coming in, and you even when Sephiroth's standing up there, he goes, it's time for the reunion, right? And you can even see the green life stream go black,
Right.
like it goes black because it's getting tainted with all of that despair. So now the life, this is crazy thought.
Yeah.
Where the planet is sustained because now it's going to thrive. It's going to last a lot longer, or not thrive. It will go on for a longer longevity.
Survive, yeah.
Its
Survive.
longevity and survival is going to go on for a long time because it's powered by negativity, which is 5 times more powerful. Right. So according to that saying. So anyway, that's my crazy theory where Sephiroth's actually good for it. But then when Sephiroth presents this world that he has made to Cloud, and he's going to tell him, you have to accept it.
Yeah.
And if Cloud can accept this, then it will be the new world, right? It will be the new one that's born, and everything will last forever, right? Everything's going to be good. You get all your friends back, and everything will be forever. I think this is the moment that I think would reinforce what Final Fantasy VII means to me. If Cloud goes, no, like I have to accept this. Like I have to. It is something I'll have to go through. Like I think that would be when he goes 7 seconds to the end. Cloud, 7 seconds. You have to make a decision, and if Cloud can go through my journey, I've learned the cycle of life and death and its importance and cherishing something, and is what I said about the cherishing and stuff like that. But that is, it's kind of where I'm at with it, guys. I've been talking for a long time.
No, this is so good. Evan, I'm going to toss it to you in a second, but I've got to comment on this because it's there's a quote that I utilize a lot whenever I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, the remake trilogy particularly, and it comes from Nietzsche. And he says, to say to someone, change yourself, demands that you change all of your past, even retroactively. That is to say, it's an impossibility. You cannot change who you are in yourself without changing the sum of every context that feeds into you. And Sephiroth has offered and seems to be remaking the past, that you may be reborn as a new entity, because he understands you've got to change the past in order to change your current reality. And so I think that you're incredibly on to something here, because it is the idea of I don't know how you feel about Sephiroth as a sympathetic hero and this, or a villain, and this may or may not do that for him, but it is the idea of, think of all that pain, that suffering, that loss. What if we could undo it?
Yep.
In so doing, it does change you as well. We remake you into a very different image. Would you take it? And so it is, I think that you're perfectly in line in saying Cloud comes to this moment of, okay, Aerith is alive. Zack is alive. My mom survives. And to say no.
God, can you imagine
the pain, right?
Yeah.
And what a journey for us to even see, like, he's right now blocked it out, right? Or something's happened. And to say, okay, none of that happened, none of it's real. But in that moment of reality and the pain that is going to sweep over him, like you mentioned earlier, to say, okay, I am going to choose this pain. One thing that I think is really powerful in the end of the original game is when Cloud says to Sephiroth, is in the climactic moment, he says, we've come to show you our memories. And it's almost this like, this is our past. This is what's made us who we are. And we're fighting for that past that you're trying to take away. I think that that's a powerful theme that resonates. Gosh, if they do it this way, if they stick this landing, Simone Biles, like, this is going to hit harder than the original if they pull it off, you know? Like, it's like, holy smokes, this is amazing.
Gold medals, man. Yeah,
gold medals. It's a tall order. But
oh man, yeah, so that's where I'm at with it, man. Like they have to stick this landing, and for me, like, that's what I conjured up. I was like, this could be super impactful like that. Because you saying it right now and presenting it the way that you just presented it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite the offer. Like that is quite the choice.
Well,
That
and
is,
this,
yeah.
Daniel, this game, like there's all the critiques that I've heard about this game have from mini games and pacing and all this kind of stuff. Everything creates some kind of diversion so you're not dealing with the thing that you're
Mm-hmm.
currently dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cloud and Tifa, they've got this relational rift between them in the very beginning of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, let's mini game. Everything's fine. We're going
Oh
on a
yeah.
journey, an
Yeah.
adventure. One of the most critiqued moments is the Barrett and Dine moment, where it feels
Mhm.
as though that emotional resonance is stolen from you. And I think that's kind of the point.
Mm.
Shinra steals the moment of grief and processing from both Barrett and the player
Hmm.
by having this kind of goofy boss fight and stuff.
Yeah.
But part three, I think, is about it's really going to be like everybody is traumatized. Like we're
Yeah.
in trauma pool
Tifa especially.
for real, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that is how the theme of the original game is
Mhm.
amplified for a new day,
Yeah.
continuing to subvert our expectations of this. So I'm on board with your theory. I love it.
I appreciate
Like that's a
it.
beautiful theory, and I'd
Yeah.
love to see what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, and it's you talked about how the trauma and stuff. I do want to like
Mm,
kind of get real quick to respond to your Dying Barrett thing. I
yeah,
gotta admit, I wasn't a fan of that, but like you
sure.
said, it might be what you're trying to do, what the game's trying to do there. But when it comes to like the trauma thing, I am most like interested in how Tifa's going to go through this because at the end of the
Yeah,
game, she's the one that is just most broken up. I mean,
she is.
think about everything she's lost. Like
Right.
she just keeps losing. Like she's lost her hometown. She lost her hometown, her parents. She
Yeah.
lost her new home in Sector 7.
Mm-hmm.
She feels guilty that it's because of her that did it. And then she's lost her childhood friend. Her childhood
Mm-hmm.
friend is there, but is he all there?
Yeah.
Like is he lost? He seems lost. And then you have her best friend
Yeah.
gone. Like
Right.
so now she is just oh man. So following her journey in the next one, and I think she will have a really big part to play. Especially if you take the original game into consideration where you
Yeah.
play as her for quite a while. Um,
So,
but yeah, no, you brought up a really cool thing about we've come to show you our memories.
mm-hmm.
Dude, I think that is awesome. We've heard it several times before where they're going to fill the clear orb with all the hopes and
Mm-hmm.
dreams of
I think
everybody.
that's it.
Yeah, I feel like that is it too, but or it is going to fill it with the it's right here, man.
Here it
It's going to
is.
fill it with the it's going to fill it with maybe hopes and dreams, but the memories and
Mm-hmm.
present it to the planet. Because remember, the planet has a will. If you remember
Right.
what Bugenhagen says. So remember what I told you about how Sephiroth might be good for the planet?
Mm-hmm.
Now they have to present it to the planet and be like, listen, here's the we've come to show you our memories.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen to Sephiroth. It's like if maybe Sephiroth got the planet to be on his side, but maybe if he can just be like, if Cloud can be like, here's the memories of our memories and our
Yeah.
perseverance and like because Bugenhagen says you got to speak to the planet. This will bond planet to the humans.
Mm.
Then speak to the planet. If our wish reaches the planet, the white materia will begin to glow a pale green. So, it is up to the planet to decide if
Yeah.
this is it. So yeah, man.
Dude, that's so good. I'm gonna toss it to Evan in just
Okay.
1 second, but I gotta say something about what you
I don't have anything else to say. You did the summary, so I don't. I'm not waiting. Go 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 go.
Okay, so man, what I love about this, somebody, I am really kind of on this track right now of Genova has almost done the mental psyche breakdown for the planet the same
Yes.
way that she's done it for Cloud,
Mhm.
right? And so
God.
what's going to need to happen,
Uh-huh.
right, is that Cloud with a clear head has got to be able to remind the planet of who the planet is as well, to some degree. Because here's the thing, you've got all these different whispers. You've got arbiters of fate as the planet would will it, as the live stream would will it, as the Cetra perhaps. And then you've got the arbiters of what I would say Sephiroth, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to dispel that. One key phrase from the original game that is a throwaway phrase, but every throwaway phrase in the original is like a chapter in the remake trilogy at this point. Of all people, Sid says that he thinks of the planet as a screaming baby, doesn't know what it's wanting. And it's their job to take care of this baby, this little screaming baby. And it's almost making me wonder. I butchered that phrase, but you remember the phrase, right?
Yeah,
where he
absolutely.
kind of mentions this. It makes me think that they've got to take care of the planet in that respect. It's not just about defeating Sephiroth, but I love the idea of them reminding the planet, and appealing to the planet, like, hey, this is who we are. We're all in this together as members of this live stream, both on the service and below the service. Kind of interesting stuff.
That's freaking awesome that you said that, and I got all excited. Hello, Victor fanfare there, man.
Come on.
God, I went. How much time we got there, man?
Dude, I mean, well, a little longer. So when you strike gold, you don't stop. I mean,
it's great because I literally have the script.
It's like we're in the oil fields of Texas and we just found geysers of oil shooting. I was like, oh, it's time to call it a day. Let's go.
The people listening are like, whoa, man, I didn't know these ProfNoctis Show went on this
Also,
long.
I'm fully aware that I just used
Evan, feel free to
oil
trim
and
it out.
geysers of oil imagery in a stream where we're talking about the live stream and Shinra.
Yeah.
The irony here is
nice.
just like,
yeah, very ironic.
Rich as oil.
No, Daniel, you got him going because he hasn't talked like about this specific stuff with anybody right now.
Oh, okay.
So this is the thing. We never talk about theories with people. It's always like, tell me your interpretation. How are you making sense of this? But I love the theory stuff because in a lot of ways, it represents, you know what, to be really meta, these theories represent the cherishing of your own past, your memories, your hopes, and your dreams.
Yep.
And that's something beautiful about this. So it in many ways, your future thinking is helping you make sense of this reality.
Yeah, man, they're like I said, they're making us. They're not only just messing around with Cloud's psyche, they're messing around with ours.
Well, that's the truth.
Yeah. So God, man.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna go on about this theory, but I was actually making a video about it.
Yeah,
but,
save some for your.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. When you talk about the fractured psyche of the planet, I'm like, God dang, you know what I mean? Here we go. All right, go ahead, Evan. I'm sorry. You know what, man? Just trim out most of what I say, because when I record my videos, I mostly just take out about 30 minutes anyway.
That ain't happening. We're long form on purpose.
That's right.
Like there is, just relax, settle in. If you want to do it on a walk, just grab a notebook and go on a little walk and listen to the podcast. Like you don't. We're not into this trimming stuff. We're just going all the way.
Hey, you get double the views, right? One person watched it and then they had to like stop. They're like, hi, I gotta take a break.
That is true. I've never thought of it that way. It's good. You can tell I'm new at this.
Unless they don't care what I'm saying. That's probably
I'll be honest. We don't know how any of this works.
We have no clue. It's all smoke and mirrors over here.
We hit a button and then the pictures show up on everybody's TV.
This is great. People comment. I usually record like a video and then like 30 minutes in, I was like, I could have just started there. Like I didn't need to. Evan, let's go, baby. Take me away.
Okay, so I think just as a summary, as we kind of transition, and it's up to you guys if you have another direction or threads that you want to pull on. I think I would, just to let you start thinking, I would love to hear some conversation between the two of you about the difference between playing this game in 3 parts versus one go, and maybe some of the things that you've appreciated about the way that they have adjusted the pacing, some of the other details that they have been able to enter into or ignored with all the extra time. This is a really fun time because they haven't released part 3 right now. So we're living in the ultimate liminal space when it comes to these kinds of games. So in gross oversimplification. You're saying that the Sephiroth is tempting the planet to essentially do what is best for itself, and do what exactly?
Real quick though, that was my wild out there theory, but so I don't know if I'm necessarily saying that's what's going on,
but that's it. That's what we're theorizing.
That was like my off the rails theory. Then so gross oversimplification of it would be that I'm thinking that they strengthen the core value of what I think Final Fantasy VII is, which is the cycle of life and death and its importance. What I said about cherishing things and things like that, I think they're trying to find a way in order to do that. And the planet thing, that's so way out there, but it makes sense as like a parallel between your two main characters, like Cloud and the planet are the main characters, I would say, maybe the main protagonists. Because you don't think anymore. You don't think of the planet as a character, but it is very much like a very important character in the story. So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
What do you got?
So the themes of the finality of death and the challenges that come with coping with and living after death, and with the reality that death is impending, and that theme of needing to understand the lack of permanence to be able to truly cherish something well. You're saying one of the ways that they could potentially have expressed that would be this kind of deal with the planet. Okay, that makes sense. Well, as we kind of transition, talk to me about how you're experiencing this pacing and the space that they've created for these discussions, and the space that they've created for us to maybe get our hopes up too much in the in between. I think we're all a little nervous about that. I'll just say what doesn't seem like we're saying here. What are you experiencing with that?
It's better to have hype than never at all. I think the pacing can be like Noctis, ProfNoctis was saying. I think you can stick this landing, and I think it would be great pacing. I will say it's been putting me through quite the roller coaster of emotions, and it hasn't been all great. I will be completely honest. After remake, it took me a long time. I went through my own stages of grief with that game. I've been open about that on my channel, and it took me a long time. It took starting FinalFanTV and talking to people and getting their thoughts and ideas and getting excited about Rebirth. So the pacing has been really, really difficult, but I kind of enjoy it in a way. I'm enjoying bringing the hype. I'm enjoying this, talking about it for hours and hours, and just doing these crazy wild theories. I've always enjoyed that. I was a big fan of Lost. So I would
and
do
this
that
is for you, right?
Yeah.
Big time.
Me and my mom would have these conversations about Lost. We watched that together, and we love that stuff. So it's interesting because all of that stuff really excites me, but at the same time, this is hallowed ground, man. This is sacred ground you're stepping on. Do not mess it up. So the pacing, to comment on that, where I'm like, it's such a crazy, some days I'm super hyped. Some days I start thinking crap. What if Zack woke up in the world that Cloud and Aerith are in, or Cloud is in right now, and now he's back in the real world? Crap. Now they're reversing the death of Cloud. And all these death reversals are not cool with me. I don't like that stuff. So then I get some days I'm really high on it. Some days I'm really and that's when I don't make content. What about you, Prof?
Well, I think you've said it really well. I think that's the thing that I cherish about this, right? If they had just given us an ending, we would have done a couple of chats about it and, moved on to the next thing in this very hyperactive world where we have one thing, then the next thing, very, very Shinra-esque, Barrett Dine. We move to the next thing very quickly. This demands that we linger in it. And so just again, from a meta narrative here, if this really is a contemplation on grief, death, and realization of reality, we're being forced into it.
That's a good point.
And I love that, because this is a memory that those who are timely born, fortunate enough to live through this right now, this is an experience that we will remember. Much like I remember the night that I went and saw Avengers Endgame and Infinity War and things like that. I remember going to midnight releases of The Two Towers and Return of the King, with my little brother. And we wondered, because we had not read the books at those points. I say that as though I've read them now. I haven't.
I'm the same way.
That's honest. Way to go.
I had to be very clear.
I say that as if I've read them before.
Which must have. But it's one of those things where I remember these moments and the conversations that we had about these things. What do you think is going to happen? And the payoff was amazing, but it was the experience of the entire journey. I think that's one of the troubles that I think Marvel is having right now, trying to recapture that journey, because the journey was so pristine and perfect for 15 years or whatever, from Iron Man to Infinity War and Endgame. And I think here we get this opportunity to be like, what do you think? That's why we're doing this lecture series, right? Because I don't know the answers, but I'm trying to use my work in research to do a literature review and say, okay, what does everybody think about this? Unless I'm not really weighing in too much. Like I have some ideas and thoughts, but like nobody knows. So how do you make sense of it? And that's why we call it this, making sense of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Because there will be a day when it all, well, hopefully makes sense.
Well, and that's why we are taking the time to get to know the people before we start talking about all of it, because we have this incredible need, we are arguing, to humanize, to connect, and to then from there understand and be curious. And so thanks for taking the time to share. I think we're
wrapping up.
About time to wrap up. Wade, you want to do the honors?
Well, let me simply say this. We're going to give you a chance to plug yourself in a second. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Oh yeah, I got about
God. He pulls out a giant book.
So anyways, I got about 8 more pages left on this theory if you guys want to hear.
I got something for you right now. Yes or no, will we get a fully circumnavigable globe with
Come on, baby. Come on. We talking about my maps now. Let me take
I know.
Final Fantasy TV. I love my
Do you think
maps.
we're gonna get it?
I think that would be the coolest thing. Because like I said in that video I made and I showed, I was like, what if, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this has been done before in a modern game, to have an open world that is literally like you can go east and end up on, you'll finally come back to your spot that you were at. I don't think there's an open world like that.
Not in an open world action RPG. Now, there are some flight simulator type games where you can do similar things, right?
That's fair. Okay.
And so some people will cite things like The Witcher 3. And The Witcher 3 has an amazingly expansive world. But to begin on one area of the map and to cross the continent fluidly, boat and all that stuff, no loading screen, that sort of thing. I struggle to think of any game that has done it to that level with a AAA story and all that kind of stuff, all firing. So, Evan, you may be able to speak to that in a different way. I'm
sure they'll let us know in the comments.
That's what we depend on you for. You are our research assistants. You'll get it. So.
We look forward to hearing about it.
But if they if they do it in this age with this technology, and they're able to recapture the wonder. I mean, as a kid, I would set the high wind in one direction. I'd just circle the globe.
That'd be so cool, right? Yeah.
It would be out of control. And one of the cool things that was said in one of the recent, I guess, interviews. Oh gosh, was it Gamescom? I'm not really sure where, but somewhere, Hamaguchi, I believe, said we have some things with the high wind that is some gameplay stuff, right?
They're confident.
I want to share it with you. I just can't. They'll kill me, right? So like, so there's ways that they're even reinventing that same feel, which makes me think they're pretty confident that they've recaptured that original, that they're even riffing on it.
Yeah.
So
the fact that I feel like they're excited. I feel like they
Right.
when I read that interview, I was like, I read that as, oh, they had a breakthrough. Something just happened. Like they were able to get this high wind working, and it's fun. And like that's where I got out of that whole like little interview thing. I was like, dude, they're doing it, and they're doing it right.
There were 2 moments in Rebirth that made me more hyped than anything. Can you guess what they were?
The 2 moments in Rebirth that made you more hype? Well, since we're on the topic of flight, was it when you took off with the tiny Bronco?
Yes, that was the first one, because you're flying, you take control of the tiny Bronco, and I said, this is a preview. This is a preview of what we're going to see in part 3. And I freaked out. Like, I freaked out. I haven't published my reaction to that, but I actually have it taped. I have it filmed, because I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Dude.
The second time that I freaked out was when the tiny Bronco went from one continent to another.
Oh, yeah.
And it was possible to go from the grasslands and Calm in Midgar all the way over to Nibelheim, Mount Nibel. And like I was like, this is it. They freaking did it.
They did it.
And it's only a taste of what I think we're gonna get in part 3. So,
and when you take off with the tiny Bronco, you get that sense of like, okay, I can see, because they have, they have 2 different
sense of place.
Maps. Like they have 2 different world maps. One that's extremely condensed, and that's when you're in the tiny Bronco and stuff like that. And then you have the ones where you're out in the open, like in the field, and that's a different map. Like they're using like some kind of trickery where you go through that fog or whatever. I don't know how they're doing it, but like it's insane. But it's like it seems like 2 different world maps that you're traversing. But yeah, when you're flying over the canyon and everything, I was the same way, man. Like,
freaked out.
I had the biggest smile on my face the entire time playing this game.
Truly.
Like, for the 95%,
look at the end.
yeah, the 95% of the game, I had the biggest smile on my face. But no, like this game was truly amazing experience. Yeah. But I don't want to. Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. What's up, Evan?
We can. Oh, Evan, did you have something else?
Oh, sorry.
No.
No.
That was so profound. Man, we have had the best time with you. This has been hype. You have lived up to your name.
Thank you so much.
And we are so grateful that you would spend so much time with us. I'm just amazed.
I feel a little bad right now that I went on for a little too long.
No, do not. This place is your platform. I wish we had more time for you. And so it's just amazing stuff. But I know we'll have more conversation in the future. Hey, how can people find you?
Oh man, at Final Fan TV. So basically, YouTube Final Fan TV, on Twitter or X at Final Fan TV. I tried to make everything Final Fan TV. So if you can find us there, find me there. And yeah, I think that's it.
Anything? Do you have anything coming up soon that you would like to make people know about?
Well, I already did my video here on the ProfNoctis Show. I did that whole theory there for you.
Yep, sure did.
No, I have this really exciting series coming up that I'm super stoked to do. This is with JD Wiley. Man, I'm super stoked about it. It is not Final Fantasy VII related all the way through, but it's something that I've really wanted to do for Final Fan TV for a long time. And it's going to go through every single Final Fantasy and do this reviewed and ranked series. So where we're going to play Final Fantasy 1 and rank it. Obviously, it's going to be number 1. We'll go from there. Where does it rank? And it's going to be so much fun. We got some cool little things planned for it. And Wiley is doing the thumbnail art, and it looks freaking fantastic.
That's awesome.
I'm really stoked for this. So that's what you can look forward to. That if you want a cool series on Final Fantasy, let's just celebrate all the Final Fantasies. And of course, let me throw that out there for the people that, because this Final Fantasy VII content will be there too. Okay, guys, I'm not going to stop doing the course. All right,
awesome.
That's great. Well, thank you so much.
Just amazing. Amazing stuff. Everybody go check out Final Fan TV over on YouTube and on Twitter and all the places that you can get that content. Cannot thank you enough. This has been amazing. Evan, any closing thoughts before we end?
You brought the hype.
You brought the hype. You brought the hype.
How am I supposed to go to sleep now?
Yeah, I
Did
know.
did I really bring the hype? I feel like I'm trying.
You brought a ton of hype.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
Good
like,
thing
I
I was
went
working
on
on
too
decaf
long.
tonight.
I talked too long, and I'm like,
I so appreciate the energy. I love it, and thanks for being vulnerable and sharing those details about your past. I think a lot of us have had those kind of experiences, so it was really amazing. So thanks. Can I do the see you next episode part?
Do it.
Hey everybody, Mosey Tall. See you next episode.
Mosey Tall.
Mosey Tall, my son.
No, thanks. Don't forget, subscribe, like, do the
subscribe
things.
and like and all
Please.
the things.
Daniel.
Please subscribe to ProfNoctis, guys. Amazing stuff. It's amazing stuff.
All right, Mosey Tall, everybody.
Mosey Tall.
Bye,
Mosey Tall, my friends.
Big thanks to Daniel, aka FinalFanTV, aka the Warrior of Hype, for the awesome interview and for bringing the energy. We had such a great time and we really appreciate it. Check out all of his stuff over at FinalFanTV. Thanks to Husky by the Geek for the theme song. Thanks to Nick Smith, who does our graphics. And most of all, thanks to you, viewer. This program is brought to you by viewers like you. We hope you're doing okay. Hope your week's going all right. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye-bye.